This week on the Sunday Glide, we're going to face the hard task of breaking down style and how to implement it into your own surfing. And we'll finish off with tip time, a deep dive into your questions. Hey everyone, so I'm just on my way up to Manly. Got the boards on the car, about a 10-hour drive, so I'm about 8.5 hours through, just doing a little pit stop here. But yeah, I've got the comp starting in about a couple days or a day when this comes out. And yeah, again, I just want to thank everyone for the support. It's been unreal. I've really enjoyed having some conversations with you guys and all the comments I've been reading and everything like that. That's been awesome. Today for the video, we're actually going to be working through style. So it's a really tricky thing to define and it's unique, but I like to think you know it when you see it. I think it is really tricky to break down exactly what goes into style. So today, I'm hoping that with my experience, I can provide you with some of the insights that I have that might be able to help you think about style and also apply it to your own surfing. The reason that style is so hard to define is because it's never the same. It's unique to each surfer's own surfing and it's their own way of expressing themselves on the wave. I like to think of style as the artistic element to surfing. So if you get a collection of artists, they can all paint a house, but the way in which it'll look as the end product will be different, just because of the different styles that they use to paint. And the same thing goes for surfing and longboarding. I also think there's a certain element of someone expressing their personality through their style on a wave. So you can even break them down into the more introverted styles where you might have someone who's a lot calmer and very still on the wave versus people who are more extroverted where they bring out more flair in their surfing. Style has existed in surfing since the very beginning. So you can throw back to the days of Phil Edwards, Mickey Dora, Midget Farrelly, all of these surfers being really well regarded and well known for their unique styles and what they brought to the wave. And then we can translate that into the modern day as well, where we have surfers like Devin Howard, Joel Tudor, Mikey February, Ethan Ewing, all of these surfers surfing different equipment, some on high performance, some on a variety of equipment, and they can all, I guess, have their own interpretation of how they should surf on the wave. But that still leaves the question, what is style and how do we define it and how can you actually implement it into your own surfing? The first thing that I think we need to consider is that style is actually a separate entity, if you like, from maneuvers. And it's the way that we express ourselves through maneuvers and through our wave riding that contributes to style. So given all of that, I'd actually like to help out a little bit by giving my own interpretation of style, and this is just my interpretation, and providing a little bit of a framework of how you can focus on style, how you can think about it, and then what you can do to make sure that you're trying to improve your style in a way that makes sense to you. At the core of style, though, is consistency, flow, and control. So you've got to remember those three words. In everyone who has a good style, these three elements will play a really big part. They won't be doing things that it looks like they're out of control, and they won't be doing things one-off. Everything will have its place and it'll likely be a really integral element as a part of their surfing. So when we consider style, we're really thinking about body position whilst you're performing these maneuvers. And so let's take a run through of how we can develop our style. So the first thing that we need to do before you even focus on your own surfing is figure out what styles you like and what you might like to replicate. So what I'd like you to do is pick 3 to 5 of your favorite surfers and try to figure out what it is about their surfing that you like. I really like to focus on how they're connecting their maneuvers, whether they're quite tall and upright or whether they're more crouched over, whether they use their hands a lot throughout their turns, throughout their nose rides, or where their hands are positioned, and that's something that we'll come to later. For example, if you look at someone like Joel Tudor, I think you'll see with his surfing that it's very smooth and controlled. Everything is happening from the hips down, and any arm movements do look quite intentional as well. So you rarely see any inconsistency with his surfing. Everything's got very much a pattern to it, and it all looks smooth and controlled. You can contrast that with another great style, as I said before, of Alex Knost. Someone like Alex Knost might have a bit more flair, using the arms, using the upper body to accentuate and embellish what he's doing within his maneuvers. I want to highlight as well that I think in terms of developing your own style, you actually can copy other surfers. The reason this is the case is we might be copying 3 to 5 surfers that we really like to watch, and the way that you perform something, or the way that you take that interpretation of their surfing, will actually look quite different. And so it's not a matter of you've got to figure out your own style and you've got to do it all from scratch. You can definitely draw inspiration from your favourite surfers. Now, the control element is a really important part of style, and I think the best way to explain or provide an example of when this can actually be affected in someone's surfing is contest surfing. So what you might see, now the really experienced surfers won't do this because they're great in competitions, but if someone's nervous and someone's under the pressure, their style will deteriorate. So you'll notice this in high pressure situations where you might have a surfer with a fantastic style. What they'll do is they won't be as controlled because they'll be nervous, and they'll be starting to rush and force things. And these are the 2 things that I think really can impact someone's style. And so that's really important to consider for your own surfing. And it's not that we can't use the arms. Some people use their arms to a really great benefit when they're trying to perform and embellish their maneuvers and turns. But if your arms are flailing, we know that this is an indicator that someone is off balance. So the arms should be used consistently and in a controlled way to embellish a turn. Sometimes both arms will actually move together at the same time rather than having that wonky seesaw effect where one arm goes up and the other goes down. So step 2 is going to be going out and taking your surfing or simplifying your surfing right down to the basics. So you're going to pop up and trim and do small turns. The reason we need to do this is we need to establish our base, what we're comfortable with, and the positions that our body is going to adopt throughout these. So if we're doing things that are more high-risk maneuvers or bigger turns, really critical nose rides, this is where we're going to feel less secure, less stable, and it's going to be really hard to focus on our style. And so bring it right back down and just focus on your body positioning. The key things to think about in this basics stage is thinking about your stance. Is it a broad stance, a narrow stance? What's your chest doing? Is it hunched over? Is it up nice and tall? And where are your hands? So are your hands by your side? Are they elevated? Where are they whilst you're trimming? The other reason this is really important is because slowing your surfing down is actually going to make you feel more balanced and controlled, and you won't be rushing so much. Again, where we start to rush and where we start to be less certain in our surfing, that's where our style and our control will definitely take a dip. So make sure that you're focusing on how to do things in a really simple way, and then we'll build the house from there. Now, the third step is, what does it look like to build that house? Focus on one thing at a time. I would probably begin with the cross-stepping, and so focusing on how far you would like your knees to bend. Again, is your body upright or is it hunched over, and where is your hand position as well? You can also focus on things like where your eyes are focused, and again, we draw this from watching your favourite surfers as well. Once you've got this, you're going to try and figure out when you're turning or through the different turns that you do. So again, watching the surfers you like to watch and figure out again, what is the stance going to be? How low are you going to be in terms of your how much you're leaning over? And then what are your hands doing at the same time? And lastly, from here, so that will take a fair while to get through those 3 steps. But once we've gotten to where you feel like you've got a really solid foundation for your cross-stepping and your turning, and you've taken through all of those maneuvers the style that you would like, we can then think about adding some flair to your surfing. Now, you might want to keep a really understated style, by the likes of Joel Tudor and a lot of different surfers who have a really understated style, which I think can look beautiful, and that's the surfing that I actually really like to watch. But at the same time, we do know that the arms and body position can help to embellish turns and be a really beautiful part of surfing as well. So have a look at the surfers again that you like to watch and see what are they doing with their arms when they're nose riding, what are they doing with their chest when they're pushing through a turn, what are they doing through their arms when they're going for a turn and everything like that. So things like soul arches and things like hanging the arms up when you're doing a beautiful hang 10. All of this can help to accentuate and embellish your surfing in a really, really nice way. As long as it's consistent and controlled. So I like to think if it's a part of your style, it should be something that is often replicated in your surfing and is not a one-off. Those one-off things are likely to be something that is a consequence of you losing control or feeling a little bit off balance. Now, to break it down even more simply, I think whilst you're initially focusing on style, to a large degree you can focus on the hands and the arms. So as I spoke about before, the arms will move around in an uncontrolled way when we're off balance, and so we can focus on putting the arm position and hand position where we want them whilst we're doing all of our different maneuvers. That will be a really good thing to focus on to make sure that we've got a consistent approach to our surfing and it looks well controlled. And the other thing is making sure that when we are moving our arms, we're moving our arms intentionally, and we can replicate that. So consistently we'll be putting both of the arms up together or one up when you're doing a certain turn or nose ride. Again, having that ability to replicate that arm positioning will become a great part of your style and your surfing. Alright, I hope that was helpful. What we'll do now is we'll get into some tip time. So another great question this week. Okay, so to finish it off with tip time today, I just wanted to really quickly go through a question. It has to do with the last video that I put up on drop knee turns, so if you haven't checked that out, go to that one. It's a really good run through, but I didn't touch on this. So the question is from AE, and essentially just asking whether it helps to have one foot on either side of the stringer when you're going for your drop knee turns. So if you're doing a drop knee and you're supposed to be engaging that heel side rail, does it actually help to, I guess, put your foot on that side of the rail as well? And the answer is yeah, absolutely it does. It's one of the more high level kind of technical things to contribute with your surfing, but in the same way that if we do a normal turn and we put more pressure onto the heel side rail, because we've got that drop knee turn happening and it's going, the foot's positioned right across the stringer, it actually can help if you can have the awareness of your foot positioning on the board to place that on one side of the stringer, the side that you're turning to. That can absolutely help to, again, put that board on rail more sharply, and so then your turn's going to be more dynamic. Now, if we put too much tilt on that rail when there's a really slow section, then we're going to run into a bit of trouble there as well. So it's always got a time and a place. Less tilt when we've got a really slow section, as for any turn. So taking that into consideration, but absolutely placing your foot on the side of the rail that you're actually leaning to can be a really, really big help. And if you go past or go back into my past GoPro footage as well, that's what you can see with some of that. So the foot actually comes onto the inside rail. But really good question. The other little thing that was added onto that is some people put their arms up into the air when they're doing their drop knee turns, and again, this kind of adds to the stylish element of that. It's not necessary, although you can use your arms to position yourself a little bit better when you're turning as well. Thanks so much for watching once again. Thanks for all the support. To support, if you want to check out any of the links down below to do with coaching, if you want any coaching for your style, we do our online sessions for that, so that could be something fun, and then other links below as well if you wanted to check those out. But hope you guys are getting waves, and we'll catch you in the next one. Yoo!